What's good? What's good? What's good? We are back. I was just over here jamming to the theme music, and it just gets me like that. Well,
Got
welcome,
lost.
welcome. Yeah, I got lost, dog. But this is the greatest podcast on your social media platform. It is that time again. Yes, we are back. I know you missed us last week, but we are back this week with some more good content on the Black and the Bold podcast. And here, you know, you're going to hear some thought provoking, some gut wrenching, and sometimes some tear jerking content. I'm still working on my stand up, so pray for me. But we're gonna get it together. But I know you just can't get enough. But listen, I'm the Bo. We're gonna get this thing started right. What's going on, Brother Black? How you doing this wonderful, fine Tuesday evening?
As they say, good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening. It's the black over here,
Yeah.
Dwayne Johnson, the down home entrepreneur over here. Just basically holding down, bro. Another week, more business on the way. You know, we got the property management thing going on, if you don't know, and Valdosta, Lowndes County, bridgebuilderinvestments.com. So to plug that, we have officially rounded out the month of June successfully. So we are on now our summer break.
Yeah.
After having a load of track practices and a load of track meets. So we are now on break, and but not break from the business. So we are full fledged now, back in business, back in the shop, back in the lab, and everything has been going well, bro. No complaints. You know, we were just down in your area, so hey, shout out to you and family Tan for coming through and paying us a visit before y'all had to get out of there. So I appreciate the sacrifice there. Man, we had an awesome time down there. On a note, man, I just got a phone not earlier, a little bit earlier ago. You remember Keisha English, right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I know she was down in Jacksonville, bro.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Yeah.
Yeah.
For years, way before I got here.
Yeah. So we had talked a little bit about real estate. Her family owns some property here that she might have some plans for in the near future. So we were just chopping it up on that. So other than that, man, it's just good to be able to I guess connect with old schoolmates. And I mean, Keisha and I've been down since elementary school.
Yeah, man. Yeah,
I know you all know each
a
other.
bit longer than mine.
Yeah, man. No, it's back in the swing of things, man. It's just good to be back in the swing of things. Actually have a full day of just business. You can kind of think through what you want to do, what you want to strategize with, and some plans for the next week and going forward. So that's really what it's about on this end, man. Just really business and family at the same time. What about you and yours on your end?
Yeah, man. Just trying to stay busy, brother. You know how it is. Things in business have definitely shifted. We're doing a lot more training, so shifted. In some of my responsibilities. On the 9 to 5. So I'm just excited about that. But outside of that, man, trying to get my oldest, get him started. He's getting ready to get started in his trade school next week or so. So I'm very proud of him. And man, just trying to keep that other one, that other little one that run the house. Yeah,
right. I know what you mean.
But yeah, man, I'm just got some things rolling. Actually, I don't know how many people have been taking this seriously, but taking this gardening at home thing to another level. Building a few planters and got those already set up, and got our seeds and stuff. So we're trying to move that route. So yeah, just trying to do some things. Kind of some preemptive measures just in case.
Yeah, self-sufficiency.
Yeah, man.
That's best. Got to.
Yeah. So, nothing big, man. Nothing big. Just still trying to make moves. That's all it is, brother.
You surviving, as they say.
Yeah. Hey, we listen. My motto was in 22 and beyond that I would no longer survive but thrive. So that's my mentality. That in anything, man, just grab that thing by the horns and try to make the best out of it. So
yeah,
that's been my motto this year. So shout out to all those motivators that may be watching or that may catch this replay. All you all that are motivators and call folk up just to see how they doing. Just because appreciate you, man. That goes a long way. When you're helping somebody. So appreciate to the tribe, man. Shout out to the tribe. Hey, but we missing somebody though. We missing somebody. We usually have we usually have a third rugrat on here. She's not on here tonight. Sister Beautiful is on assignment, and so her schedule is kind of it's kind of touch and go type situation. So she may be able to pop in tonight. She may not, but I appreciate it. But y'all already know, we got, it was a chanting and chomping or chomping and chanting. I know I got to get the order right, but either way, I'm repping the right ones. But shout out to Brother Cedric, man, being here early too. We appreciate your early support, brother. We appreciate it like you never know, man. Thank you so much. We know Brother Cedric is out there. He's out there kind of supporting us. Running our commercials. Talking us out. In public. So it's chopping. Chopping first. All right. I remember that now. Chopping first. But we appreciate you, my brother, and thank you so much for all your support. If we have anybody else that comes on, we want to make sure you rep. Let us know you're here. Rep your city, rep your class, rep your reunion year, whatever it may. What is it? But class,
it looks like we have a special guest.
We have a special guest.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
We had a special guest. We do have a special guest.
Get that tape. Oh, the third Rugrat. Oh, okay. We appreciate that.
Yeah. And it just so happens I'm very hip and I'm very knowledgeable on my Rugrats. So they do have a Rugrat named Susie. So yeah. It's appropriate.
I didn't know if you catch that or not, but you're smart as always. Just
I do. My children grew up in the Rugrat age, so I'm very versed on Rugrats.
How's it going out there on assignment? What's going on with it?
Oh, well, I bring you greetings from the Black and Bold Show all the way from the beautiful city of Decatur, Georgia, where I am on assignment at the Emory University Hospital. So it's very busy here, very exciting. I had an opportunity to land in my lap that I could not resist. So I'm using this opportunity to, meet new people, spread the Black and the Bold, hopefully, gain some followers while I'm up here. And also just kind of tap in on the world of technology here in healthcare. This is a learning hospital as well. So they top of the line here. So I'm just trying to hold my own, you know how we do. We're gonna be firing on all cylinders here.
There we go.
All the time.
But I miss you guys. I do miss you guys.
Yeah, man. You told us you weren't gonna be on the show. We had our conversation the other day. I was like, we gotta deal with this spottiness.
It is hit and miss, you either in the game or you ain't, or you guys know that. So yeah.
I get
I'm holding my own, but I miss my Black and Bold. I miss my my tribe, my people.
Yeah, we got to keep you on because they swear up and down we so hard on you. We trying to kick you off the show.
I'm glad people are noticing. But you know what?
That means they're talking about us,
I'm resilient. Yeah, and I really not all the time, but I really welcome that from you guys because I didn't have brothers, so it keeps me sharp. Iron sharpens iron. So
But that goes right along. While we got you, that goes right along with the topic. It goes right along with it. Actually, this topic was something that was shared to the group. I saw the video and I threw it out to the group just to pick their brains. And you and I had a very in-depth conversation about it. And we went kind of roundabout, but we touched a lot of issues that we found out that were kind of all connected, to this. And so us having a quick conversation actually gave us a title to the show and everything else. So, but tonight we wanted to ask a question. Does Black America need a software update? And once we saw this video, questions started coming from everywhere about what abouts and who's responsible and who's accountable and whose fault it is. And we went down that rabbit hole. But I'm just going to play the audio really quickly. I'm just going to play the audio because I don't want us to get any copyrights or anything. But I'll make sure I'll put a link to the video in the chat really quickly.
Hey, as Usher says, watch this.
Yeah.
Daddy, my baby daddy come here with one meal for my child. But I have 3 other kids. We have one kid together, but he only want to come and bring one thing to McDonald's. But what about my other kids? How come you can't feed my other kids McDonald's though? Like that's bogus as hell. Like you're not gonna sit here and make my other kids feel left out, and you're only bringing one child something to eat. Look, there you go. And I bet you he only got one thing in there. I bet you he don't even.
Now, before we get down into the copyright, how many seconds you can play it, and all of that, we're gonna try to stay safe. But I want to know before we get started. Did you all see this video before I?
Yeah. No, not before you posted it. No, or shared it. Excuse me, not.
Now, Suzanne, I think you said you heard about it. Maybe I can't remember. You're on mute.
Well, it's trending, so of course I heard about it, and there has been a lot of memes that spun off of this, and it actually opened up the conversation again. And I had an opportunity to see that our community, our Black community, is split down the middle. So some people agree with her, and some people don't. So it's a hot topic right now.
And that was the thing that really got me, because when you said, Brother Bo, I don't know now, because I went through these comments and it's about 50-50. So this might be something we might need to talk about, because at this point, I'm surprised. You said you were surprised that it was a 50-50, that some felt like she was wrong and some felt like, some felt like it was okay, or he should have done it another way and all this kind of stuff. But I'm going to keep playing it, because when I first saw it, I thought it was a joke. So I played it again.
I know, right?
Come to find out, it was some kind of little skit, I think, from what I'm hearing. But
I think that particular video may have been scripted. However, art always imitates real life. So I mean, that scenario, it's not an anomaly. It happens a lot with baby mamas and baby daddy situations and blended families. It happens a lot in those scenarios. So it is a conversation that needs to be had, because I did see that both sides were very strong on their stance. So if you agree with it, you were strong in that opinion. And if you did not agree with it, you supported the brother for bringing only one Happy Meal. Yeah.
I'm interested in knowing the split on demographics as well, though.
Well, we'll definitely get to that. But I think that particular page showed it's a fair mix, but I think most of the time in comments on stuff like this, you'll probably get close to a 60-40 best average female male. But I don't know. But with stuff like this, looks like it's probably closer to a 50-50 with this situation.
Right.
But
I mean, not only in the comments of the actual video itself, I'm sure you gentlemen have had like friends, your personal friends on your Facebook fellowship, that they chimed in on it as well. And I noticed that it was kind of 50-50. Even in my Facebook fellowship, there were gentlemen in there that felt like he should have gotten there, gotten Happy Meals.
Whoa, wait. We're gonna
go run it first.
I'm gonna go ahead and run it.
I've been exposed to so people can see how he really is. It ain't more than enough food in that bag for everybody. What's up?
So before we play too much of it, well, go ahead. We'll just play it.
Because I'm finna expose you. Because that don't look enough for all my kids. That don't look enough for all my kids. What is that? That's just one burger, one fry. Okay, what about my other kid?
All right. So okay, so what do y'all think? We're not even going. We haven't even finished all the fussing and arguing.
I was gonna say it depends on how long you want to run it, but
let's just break this down from the very beginning. So when dude shows up, she already knows he's coming. Yeah, she already knows he's coming. She knows that he brings food for his child. So this is some resentment she has with him specifically. Because at the beginning of the video, she said, I'm going to expose him. I'm going to expose him. I'm going to expose him. So to me, it was already going to be problems from jump. Looked like she was already ready to do whatever. And not only she wanted to expose him, she went live. to do it. I mean, what are we talking about here? Was he set up from the beginning?
I want to know, where do you guys stand on the argument? Which side are you standing on?
I mean, I'm real easy on this one. I mean, because I cringed because I watched like 2 minutes into it, and that's why I'm like, it depends on how far you're going to go in the video before you actually start to feel what you really are naturally going to feel. Because off the rip, like Bo said, it's already a tense situation at the door, and so you really don't have right now, until you play a little bit more of it, the guy's perspective when he walks up. And of course, I hate to hear that it's probably scripted, but it is what it is. But it gets more sympathetic for me as a guy that actually has a child before my set here, so I can empathize with where he's coming from in some instance. I don't have, my oldest Alex, she's grown at this point, but it was never a situation where I had to bring food and then there are other 2 kids there, not like that. But you can just understand where he's coming from, that he's just dropping off some food for his kid. So,
well, I know you want to ask me, so I feel like his response. I feel like he was doing what he was responsible for doing. Ultimately, that's my ultimate answer.
ultimately,
If I were to add a little bit of context, do I think that because of who he's dealing with, I think the way he handled it was kind of immature, because I'm sure he knows that she flies off the handle like this. I'm sure this isn't the first time she's treated him like this. And so I think he did a bad job of gauging how to do it. It just could be, it could be for the fact that he might be the only baby daddy that might be like fairly active.
right.
You know what I'm saying? So for her to even have an expectation for him to supply needs for other children, which we don't know how many.
And we don't know ages.
Right, we don't know ages. So I'm thinking they're all little kids if you're trying to bring them all McDonald's. So if that be the situation, I think because of who he's dealing with, I think he handled it in an immature manner. He did the right thing in the wrong way. But is he wrong for picking for defending himself and say it's not my responsibility? Absolutely, because that goes into our question about the sole responsibility of the children that we render and we care for. That's not his responsibility. Now, anything that he would have done, because we get further down the video, she does say that he did it before, but that does not mean he's obligated. And I think that sometimes these situations get cloudy when men who aren't the father of children do nice things for the children that aren't theirs, and then they all of a sudden take that as a standard or an expectation, when in fact that's not how men think. That's not how men roll. Like, if we do anything for something that's not ours, we're doing it out of the goodness of our hearts because we want to. And I just think this situation from jump, I think when he got that energy, Suzette, I would have just turned around. I would have just gave it a bag and turned around, because.
Well, you also got to, on that note, then with the visual of it, I know we're not doing visual here, but clearly she disposed of the bag. It seemed that what I saw. That's watched it one time. But anyway, but going back to what you were saying, I mean, I'm on this side of the fence of it as well, just because one, we don't have total context in this entirety for one. So if I keep it bare foundational, I'm dropping off food for my son and my daughter, period.
Right.
And that's what that's about. Now, I don't know, again, context, don't know. Context was the expectation set that I'm with you now and you're going to provide for all kids, as far as, just dropping off a Happy Meal. Maybe it wasn't even a Happy Meal, right? Based on the box, Happy Meal. He's a white bag now.
He had a real value meal. He didn't have a Happy Meal.
He had a $1 sandwich and a $1 Coke or shake or something. So it was just a snack. You know what I'm saying? I could get, bro, dropping off a snack. And so, like, for instance, if I'm that close to the father, excuse me, the mother of my child, and she has 2 other kids, yeah, I might do the gentleman thing, but every now and again I might do something special for my son or daughter. So again, I don't know the context of that. The other thing I was saying about ages, they matter, because if we're talking, let's just say toddlers, and then one's probably a little bit older, let's just go in that age bracket. Where I'm going with that is, where does this stop? Because one day it's a Happy Meal or dollar value
Next thing
meal.
is a
The
car.
next thing you know, it's, well, no, not even for that. I'm saying, that's why I say in this 2 to 3 year old range. Then the next thing is pull-ups. What if I'm bringing pull-ups for my 2-year-old or whatnot? Or I don't know. I got the ages now. I'm so way ahead of that now. But the point is, you get what I'm saying? Where does this stop as far as expectation? Because I think where this blows out of proportion is everybody has a different set of expectations. And I think that based on what I saw in the video and what everyone can hear, is that they're on 2 different pages of expectations. And because of that, you have to pretty much cut the cord and say, I'm providing for my son or daughter. Now, unless they're going to set some expectations, I don't think that changes.
Well, I think I want Suzette, because she can hear both of us chat now, so she can weigh it a lot better than just me the other day. But like you were saying, like, where is the cutoff point? I think this is some of our own doing. I think this is a result of boys being taught to always cater to women and not being taught what type of women to cater to. Because at this particular situation, if the other baby daddies aren't bringing food for the children that she has, that means that she makes bad decisions, because she can't even have good relationships with the father of her children, regardless of the dynamics. And so she then told him, well, you knew what you were getting into when you know I had other kids. Almost as if there's this expectation for all men to take on that tribal mentality, that it takes a village to raise a child. And so my question to ask, as we just get into this, because we're raising boys to be chivalrous and all of that, has it become our detriment? Because it seems like he's still trying to be the good guy, although seemingly he's being treated like this on a regular basis.
Well, I like what you said there with regards to, us as men, as good men, teaching our good boys to become men of chivalry, gentlemen. And not everyone deserves chivalry or gentleman-like characteristics. Not that you shouldn't do it for anyone. I open the door for anyone that's behind me as far as a female, but there's a bit that I clearly will not do, and I don't even know the young lady. You get what I'm saying, Brother Bo? As far as there's a limit to what I'm just going to go out and do. And so I think we need to raise with discernment young men that are chivalrous, but you reserve your all-out gentleman-like qualities for the one that you choose.
Exactly. That goes with what I tell my son. One of the 3 major rules I tell him is that the first one is never allow somebody in your space that does not deserve it. And I think if we learn to have a greater filter about people who we deal with, we can ward off a lot of this unnecessary foolishness when it comes to male-female relationships. I think it's both men and women's fault that we are here, at such a dichotomous position. Like, we're just 2 totally different people. It's almost like we 2 totally different types of people. Far between us. So, but I do think that it's because we teach our boys to be nice and always curtail to the needs of a woman, always open the door, always hold the umbrella. And as little boys, we're taught to do that to all women. But I think the disconnect would be that most of the time we're taught that by women. And so because we're taught that by women, we don't know how to turn the faucet off because we're around women all the time. But then when you have a man in the house, he's the one that's going to teach you how and when to turn that thing on and off. And I think because we have too many videos like this. And so I think a part of the software update is we're going to have to do some firmware upgrading when it comes to what chivalry looks like. Because I think a lot of women expect it.
That's where I was going to say is that you got the other side of that where the reception faucet is wide open, as if, again, I said that you're entitled to receive that, but you're not actually carrying yourself in full womanhood or woman-like qualities. You know, like the young lady that's there. I mean, in my just opinion of the snippet, she's not deserving of what the young brother was trying to do for the child that she bore, I forget, for him. Now she needs to go find and check, because again, I don't know the context. I don't know if the other father is gone out of the country, whatever, but she should have held the other father accountable for those other two kids, that side of the table. But if you got a young brother that's doing right, and you can have that conversation, you know, what the expectations are, what she would like for him to do. But as I said before, there are going to be some times where I'm handing off something just for my child.
Suzette, I got to ask you a question, and we'll let you have the floor with this. I want to answer it the right way, but I'll just answer the way I'm thinking about it. Are black men expected to accept every condition he finds a woman in relationships?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. However, my opinion of the said situation is swayed because I grew up in an era where it was a tribal community kind of thing. So, you know, I grew up where everybody, you know, get one watermelon, everybody gets a slice, you know, or if somebody brings some food, everybody gets food, you know. So, yeah, it's kind of hard for me to see that he only brought for his kid. But given how society's structure is set up now, I see why he did it. But it's hard for me to, because I think I touch and agree on several different points that both of you had made. I mean, I think the receptor or the receiving end is wide open, and people are feeling entitled or are expecting people to do things that is not a part of their responsibility. But that's just the way the world is set up right now. And I'm just wondering how can we switch it, because it seems like it's getting worse. Just looking at the fallout and the aftermath of this video, you know, now they have people showing videos of this guy picking up multiple baby daddies, and they all show up at the house at the same time passing out Happy Meals, you know, and you know, the leader dad is like, okay, next in line. So, you know, it is becoming a joke. And I feel like ultimately, I feel like the kids are suffering while we try to figure it out as adults.
Do you think that that's something that some women want? Do they want a man to come in and orchestrate their chaos?
Yes, and I mean, it's not a new thing. It's called save a woman, for lack of a better term. You know, that save a woman mentality is nothing new, you know, but that save a woman mentality lacks responsibility on the female part. You know what I'm saying? Females, we have to take responsibility for the situations that we place ourselves in, and ultimately our children in sometimes. You know, the children don't understand why their brother is getting a Happy Meal, but they're not. You know what I'm saying? That's an adult. That's a part of the adult dynamics of it all. So, and it's a, you know, trickle down effect because of the decisions that the mother has made or that the father has made, and now the child is confused as to why my brother gets good treatment but I don't. So, yeah, we need to work on some things as men and women in our community. We need to work on it.
Let me pause for the calls, guys. Let me pause for the calls one time. We have someone who just shared our live stream. Cuzzo, Jody, Elizabeth Floyd, Cuzzo family just shared our tonight's stream on Facebook. So shout out moment for that. Continue with the conversation, guys. I just want to share.
Yeah, I mean, I was listening to what she was saying, and I agree. I heard a guy give a response that kind of goes what Jarkay said. In her comment, she said he possibly has did it in the past, but is tired of picking up the slack, which is probably true. She needs to be holding her other baby daddies accountable. I do think he should have at least took the child somewhere else to eat the food. This is the problem I have with that. Why is he held responsible for a situation he was set up from the get-go? He didn't have any intention to do any of this. All he was doing was trying to do something. Now, of course, it's theoretic, but again, it imitates life. All he was doing was trying to accommodate the fact that maybe he did know, because she said she wouldn't get her food stamps to the 11th or whatever that was. Maybe he was aware of that. Maybe she, reached out to him and said, "Hey, the kids need something to eat, blah, blah, blah." And maybe this time he just brought some for his own son. Why is he responsible for taking food elsewhere when he was probably told from the beginning to just drop it off? Because it looks like he had every intention on just dropping off food. So why is it now he has to catch this dynamite and kind of rearrange this whole offensive play off of what was just thrown in his lap? Why is it that she isn't being held accountable of setting or staging the environment for one? If the child was just getting food for him, if they small kids, she could have split that meal up if they was really hungry. Come on now, let's stop tripping. All of us on here have been over somebody's house or have been in a situation where you had to share your food at some point, whether you was out with your cousin, y'all was on a field trip, they ain't bringing no money, so you had to share your lunch bag with your friends. We've all done it. So number one, if the babies were really hungry, she should have been mature enough to split that meal up and feed all three of them what they could eat out of what he brought. If that's the real situation.
I'm with Jarkay on her statement. She says, excuse me, Jarkay says, she stated that this is something he always does. She was aware. So if she felt a certain way, she should have said something before he came.
Absolutely.
Again, I think clearly, obviously it was set up in every way it is that you see. The thing about, like you're talking about, Bold, is that the other flip of that, even if the split up the meal solution is something that's viable, but she also could have contacted him in the beginning to work something out so that this would not happen. Again, I don't need a setup. You could have called me and maybe we could have worked something out. I could have got more this time, but she knew what was happening. She knew what was going on.
So let me ask you, and I'm going to ask Sister Beautiful this out. I'm asking the women. So is this a normal thing that some women do to get a rise or reaction out of men who are somewhat active? When the guys who are not active don't get bothered, they don't get put on child support, they don't get the drama, but the one who's active, she's throwing all of that on him. So is this something that happens on a regular basis where women kind of create gotcha moments?
Well, I think in the scenario of baby mama, baby daddy drama and blended families, I think the kids are used as pawns a lot of the time to get at the opposite of, adults. So, I think it was just like she said in the video, she was going to expose him. That should not have been her goal. Her goal should have been to pull him to the side and maybe share with him how it was affecting the other kids, if it was affecting the other kids. That should have been her goal. Like, maybe the next time could you, just like Brother Black said, work out some previous arrangements. But I really think that they were just trying to get at each other. Just like, we had kind of thrown out there before, the brother probably had already been in that scenario before. And he was like, you know what, this is what I'm going to do from now on. I'm just going to worry about my own and the end of it all. But I think it's just the adults acting up, and they should have sat down and kind of owned up responsibility of the poor decisions that they made prior to entering these kids in the world, and then move forward from that. But I don't think any man should accept any responsibility that is not his unless there's a previous agreement like we talked about in the blueprint from the Black and the Bold,
Right,
unless
right.
there's something established from the beginning of the relationship, and now they just are, it's a mess. It's a total mess.
So does that spill over to us taking more of an individual responsibility with who we deal with? Because if you look at in the Black community, we have a very large amount of single mothers, and it is increasingly becoming the normal option for you to find a single woman with children than not. And so this is something we're going to have to really embrace. But I think it starts, like you and I talked about us taking, that individual responsibility for the things that we create. Starting from jump. I think we have also glossed over the fact that she's a single woman with three to four small children.
I know you was gonna bring that up at some point in the conversation.
Yeah, I and it's just an honest conversation to highlight the fact that it's a reality. You know what I'm saying? Because seemingly our sisters have this unspoken expectation that, well, they'll say it, I'm a package deal, but I don't think they really understand what that means to a man. You know what I'm saying?
What does it mean anyway?
Yeah, like I'm a package deal. Like what? Yeah, like what does that mean? What does it mean when you say you're a package deal when you're a woman? Just to help some of the brothers out.
I'm listening.
You guys are funny. First of all, when women say that, they just want to let you know that they do have kids. And so it's not going to be autonomous. You're going to date me and ignore my kids that I bring into the relationship as well. And some people want to separate the two.
Package deal. Okay. I don't know. I always thought like a package deal was like a win. Deal. Like when you're on The Price is Right, you got a package deal. Like I'm jumping up for joy.
I get 2 for 1.
Oh, y'all saying this is not a bonus. It's not an upgrade.
You might be hitting some babies.
And it's not a bonus. And as a single father, I understand this in a different way. It's not a bonus. It's not a package deal. It's more responsibility. It's you stepping back and saying, I'm allowing this person into the personal lives of my children. So it's more about how much what capacity I have to serve you and what comes along with you, instead of it being a package deal. Because what it sounds like is back to that queen, I'm the prize type situation. That's the tone. And am I right, or I'm just asking because it seems like that's the tone of what that means. But if a man comes with children, can he say he's a package deal too?
Yeah, absolutely. He definitely can say that.
Okay. Well, stop real quick. Shout out our brother Greg Roberts. Shout out to Twin. Appreciate you, man, for coming on in. It's been a while. Since we see you, brother, but we do appreciate you logging on tonight. Thanks so much. Don't forget to like and share and subscribe if you haven't, brother. We got a whole lot to share. But yeah, man. I don't know. I'm lost in a way because to me, the way she was talking in the video seemed like she valued her children and the lack of what the other fathers were doing, theoretically, on top of what he was doing that they weren't doing. Does that make sense? Did I say that right? Did I take you down the road?
I wouldn't use the word. No, I wouldn't use the word value. I just think that, like she stated in the video, that she was trying to expose him or really guilt him or shame him into which is a form of manipulation, into doing for her other kids, and that was not his responsibility. So again, I think that her target was to kind of defame him and attack him, and not necessarily worry about the welfare of the kids. I mean, she put a veil and posed it like that was her main, focus was, okay, what about the rest of the kids? But she specifically said, I'm going to expose this man. So I think the motives on both parts was a little off. Yeah.
So by saying that, and we're talking about the individual responsibility, are we more concerned with exposing each other as black women and black women, black women and black men, instead of
Yeah,
accepting each other's
absolutely.
flaws?
Yeah. It's
Absolutely.
an age of
In
social
our
media. So
community,
yes.
we do a lot of damage to each other in our community. Vice and that door swings both ways. You know, our black women kind of verbally and sometimes physically kind of tear down our black men and vice versa. Our black men do the same thing for black women. But if we continue on this trajectory, it's nothing but self-destruction, ahead in the next exits ahead. So we need to try to work on effective ways that we can improve the relationship between, black men and black women. We have to repair that because there was a moment in time, and I do understand that, we're moving into different eras, time-wise, but there was a moment in time where this wouldn't have been a conversation, this wouldn't
Right.
have even been an issue. And so a lot of people are talking about they want to move back to the tribal community. They want to, promote black unity. We have, a lot of Afrocentric eras and movements going on right now. But, are we really are we really putting the work in to reach that goal? I don't think so. I think in reality, there's a great divide, and everybody is being selfish in the terms of, I'm going to take care of my little responsibility, and I'm not worried about anybody else that's outside of my circle of influence. So yeah, I think we need to really take a realistic look at if we're trying to build ourselves as a black community, or are we just trying to be autonomous of each other and just let everybody struggle, do their own thing.
Well, I think that goes back to the comment Latessa Salter made. She said the maturity in the person's past experiences dictate their response to these type of situations. When you talked about us taking that individual responsibility of how we deal with each other, I think it goes back to us addressing our past traumas and stop carrying that on and spewing that on new people, and then that relationship not working, and then you spew it on somebody else and that relationship doesn't work, and you spew it on the third person. Now all of us are the same, but you're overlooking the common denominator, not realizing that a lot of us are entering relationships broken. We're bleeding, we're injured, we're confused. We got a lot of other internal things. Some of us are very prideful and full of our ego, and it's want, me. And a lot of that stuff affects how we interact with the other sex. I mean, what do you think about that? I mean, do you agree? Either one of you, do you all agree that there are a lot of people that have these 3 and 4 baby daddy situations and all that because of some past traumas and issues, or are they whole or what? Because they'll say they're okay, but I don't think so.
Well, we had previous multiple segments of mental illness in our community. So absolutely, it's an issue that needs to be resolved sooner rather than later. But this conversation, although a lot of people have turned it into a joke and made it lightly, but it's a conversation that we really need to dive into and be very serious about.
All right, okay. All right, let's dive in. Let's dive in right now then.
No, I'm just saying,
let's dive in. Let's dive in right
yeah,
there.
let's dive in. Just a few weeks ago, we just had the Roe versus Wade Supreme Court overturn. So
I didn't bring it up.
What does that mean? That means there's probably going to be some unwanted pregnancies and unwanted children in the future. So, you know what I'm saying? So we need to kind of chime in on what do we do, for those kids that are going to be out there floundering, looking for some parental guidance, perhaps some parental love. Like, what are we going to do about that situation in our community?
Well, let's break it up into what we think men should do and what we think women should do. You want to go first, or you want us to go?
Before you go first.
All right.
all, want to give a quick shout out to Tan B Styling. Just sharing tonight's stream on Facebook.
Yeah, the stream. Appreciate you. Thank you so much. I appreciate
Go
you.
right ahead.
Yeah.
The program that's in progress.
Yeah. So we got to talk about what are some actionable steps. I know Beautiful is really adamant about staying on those actionable steps. So what should we do with our brothers moving forward, to help better the male-female relationship dynamic in the Black community? I think, first of all, what Black men should do is teach their young Black boys manhood from the jump. Forget about girls. Just teaching him manhood, to be able to be self-sustained, to learn to love himself, to learn to accept himself for who he is, physically, spiritually, and mentally. Give him something, or to dig into him to find his talents, something that he feels good about, something that increases his self-esteem. Get him around other boys. Really focus on what men do. And then after we've settled that, we can start implementing, if we're the fathers in the home, we can start implementing, showing our sons how we interact with women, not just physically, because you're always going to have that sex talk, but how you interact with a woman emotionally. How do you communicate effectively with a woman? How do you lead your home? Things like that. So they won't have an expectation for a woman to come in and make them whole and make them complete. Because that's part of the problem, that too many of our men are looking for a woman to make them complete. That's not how that works. That woman should be that last piece that you add to it, depending upon when she comes into your life. But we have to begin to teach our young boys how to navigate life as a male, how to communicate, how to be open, how to be himself. So then when he starts to encounter women, he's not encountering them trying to impress them and opening doors and pulling out chairs and being somebody he's not. And so I think it starts with really being fathers, where fathers reconnecting to their sons, establishing, giving their sons purpose, giving them direction, giving them skills, giving them tools and knowledge so they could be effective men first. I think that's where we start. I think that's a good starting point, because you think about it, boys think girls are gross for a certain part of their life. But that's a part of their life where boys, they have a lot of development going on. And it's when they get that puberty, because we've stayed away from girls so long, we don't know how to communicate with y'all. Because now, at one time, we want y'all on the playground. Now, you're kind of cute, but we don't know how to add you into this situation. So, what I'm saying? It's a lot of dynamic boys need to figure out. So I think we start there. I don't know about you, Brother Black, but
I can agree with the context of what you're talking about, because I look at it the same way in a way of like a 3-step approach, because like you said, I like what you said there. Obviously, that in the first stage, little boys aren't interested in little girls in that manner. So that's the prime opportunity. Like for instance, with my 6-year-old, for me to raise him as a young male. Not a man yet, but there's some manly characteristics that he needs to see, in that process of modeling. And at the same time, that's intentional. Compared to the relationship with females, he should be able to see through modeling. Not it's different than the intent of talking manhood, but he should be able to see through modeling how I interact with their mother and my wife, basically. Until we get to that phase to where this is my middle child here, Kalel, where he is now starting to feel himself, starting to know he got a little something, as far as, little Spider-Man look to him, real sleek. And so he might be liking girls. And so now's the opportunity for me to join that conversation, tap into what's going on at school. And all right, now here's how we need to look at this from a male perspective and how we need to balance it, because you're not a man yet. So you don't, as you're saying now, Brother Bolt, I heard you say where we don't need to take on responsibilities that you're not ready for yet.
Yep.
So while you can open the door, but you shouldn't be paying for lunch. you know.
Yeah.
So there's some things, we need to balance at that phase, because soon now in this next stage in high school, now my older child, daughter, I have to ward against in this case, to where now the males are trying to do too much because the focus is on I'm just girl crazy at this point. And so if I have a male child, and when I do at that point, when our middle child gets older, basically then there's that transition, as we talked about earlier. Suzette talked about, and we referenced the rites of passage. We get into that phase, 17, 18, and 19, what you're going through, Brother Bold, at this point now, and even sort of previewing that phase, we're really talking how to be a man. Here, before you launch out into this world, there's some key things that I need you to know.
Yeah.
And like you said, down on the totem pole is women, because there's a whole lot you need to be responsible for. There's a whole lot you need to take care of for yourself first, before you can even approach yourself to be ready for a woman. Because this is what we're getting into right here, that this video exposes.
Yeah.
For more so for the matter, is that you got two individuals that are not the best versions of themselves, and you can see that. And so I think, in my opinion, that's really where I come from, over a 3-stage effect, just because it's a natural progression. They're not ready for the females at that point, 6 years old. Then all of a sudden there's a little interest here and there. You got to guide them through that. And then there's a full-blown interest, but we need to balance that. We need to talk manhood first.
Yeah. I think that's a good start for us, Suzette. So we'll leave it there and let you share with us what you think the women need to do.
No, I totally agree. Definitely, I would take the same approach as in grooming a young lady into being a young woman. It's too much of a burden for a lot of women. Take that approach. Oh, well, I can change him, or I can make him better. I can upgrade him. That's too much responsibility. Because what happens if you don't upgrade him to your standards? So, we definitely need to work on ourselves individually, making sure that we're a whole person before we involve, a whole nother human being into our lives. And in terms of women with children, be very selective about who you let into your life and your children's lives, because, it does affect every single person in your life. If you're inviting someone who is, not a good influence or not a good person, period, into your life. So we need to be very, that would be my advice. Number one, women, work on yourself. If you have young ladies that you are raising, make sure you instill them with the proper resources and the proper information, that they will become a whole woman as they're grooming themselves into becoming a young lady. And then number two, but most importantly, especially in these days, be very active about who you let into your life.
Now, I'm going to push back because, and it's not directly because of what you said, it's the word you used. And I hear this a lot from our sisters. And I want to get some clarity, because I hear a lot of people use this, especially when our sisters are asked this on talk shows and podcasts. And they always use this blanket term, I'm working on myself. What does that look like? Because when we gave you actionable steps of everything we would do, as far as teaching things practically and pragmatically to our boys. We gave you a timeline. We gave you a process. We gave you details. You said, work on yourself. What does that look like? What does a woman mean when she says she's working on herself? And is she really doing what she says she's doing?
I think
Oh, she got logged out. Listen, sisters.
Did she really, though?
Yeah. It could be one of those situations.
She might have clicked the button,
All right, so listen. So here it is. Chat. Was that a valid question? Like, I wanna know. I'm sure Brother Black wants to know for real, because we hear it a lot. We know you darted out real quick because you try to find your answer real quick. So
here we I knew you guys were gonna say something. It was a technical.
I went back out the way. hey, Black, I will get off the screen so she can have another reason to
Whatever. It was on cue, but it was an honest technical issue.
Got it.
So women working on themselves, meaning, they're making sure that they're emotionally stable, number one. And then, making sure that they're able to receive someone in their lives. And as a single parent, you have to make sure not only about who you let into your life as a companion or a partner, but someone that's going to be around your children as an influencer in their lives. So working on yourself, it is multifaceted, but essentially it just really is a benefit to the male. If a woman says she's working on herself, it's really a benefit to her male counterpart, because she's making sure that she's available to receive someone in her life and hopefully not bring the previous baggage from a different relationship into a new relationship. So that's what working on herself generally means.
And I think that, the reality is that individuals need that time. Otherwise you're going to bring that into the next relationship, unfortunately. So I think that's a sense of necessary maturity in that person, because basically what has happened is that may have not happened earlier in the stages that we were describing earlier. And again, the sense of it is that both individuals, male and female, should be taking these steps. Hopefully the parents are taking these steps along the way, so that you don't have an older adult that needs to take care of themselves, at a pretty prime moment of their life. Another thing that I wanted to twist that you said, which is good, is that before you let someone into your life, as a male, I'll even reword that for some of our male counterparts and viewers, is that you need to be very mindful who you let in between your legs. I'll just say that, because that's where a world of trouble happens.
Hey, what you said about legs? You said something about legs.
I said legs. Oh, I'm sorry, you heard legs.
I'll try to figure out what y'all talking about. Anyway, my bad. I didn't mean to interrupt the conversation.
Hey, that's all right. I think you might want to hear that one as well, though, because what I heard Suzette saying, which was a good point, females need to be very selective about who they let into their lives. I would just reword that as a male and say females need to be very selective about who they let in between their legs.
Well, I think that's a conversation that it's been tough to have. And I have really found it disingenuous when we start bringing up individual sexual responsibility, that the conversation gets derailed into, well, men do it too. And then we go down this whole different rat hole, and we never get a chance to really discuss or hold down the fact that I think our sisters do need to exercise a lot more of self-control, and also somewhat of self-delegation when it comes to you being able to vet these men. I don't know. It's a hard conversation to have, but I'm going to ask the women in the chat, and I'm going to ask the woman that's on this panel. Do you think our women are being held accountable for the men they choose to have babies with? Because it's like, now we'll have a baby before we consider being married. So
no, I don't think all the time that women are not, because it's so easy for a woman to default to starting child support on a man instead of really taking a responsibility on choosing the wrong partner to have a child with to begin with. I think that and not that we need government to come in and kind of manage us, but I think if it would be a more 50-50 responsibility, which some people would dare to say that it is, and being a mother myself of children, a lot of people use the fact that you really can't put a price tag on the work that a mother does for a child. So I mean, it gets a little hairy in there, but as a woman, I would say that the conversation does not lend to us talking about us making the wrong decision in a partner to have a child with someone to begin with that wasn't compatible with the female. So that conversation really doesn't come up. But and then immediately, as we talked about, it immediately goes to the blame game. Like, well, you're not doing this or you're not doing that. And rarely is the conversation had about we selected the wrong person to have a child with.
Well, I'm glad that you took onus of that, because I know a lot of men, we hear a lot of the times if we having a bad experience with a woman, the first response we'll get was, you chose him. But we don't get a chance to say that in return when some of our sisters have bad experiences with men, to be able to say that same phrase back. I don't think it's accepted in the same weight that we accept it in. It's like you hear it, but you just kind of go by it, and still try to blame the other guy. I think that's a part. I think that's going to be a major part, especially when you brought in the Roe versus Wade, because I think the majority of the trauma we experience is self-inflicted. I think we point fingers a lot, but babe, sis, you got 4 kids and at least 3 baby daddies. Come on, like, and now you expecting this guy to come in to be, the orchestrator of your chaos. For him to come in, she got 3 husbands, and the one she got with the one she with on TikTok ain't hers either. Woman at the well experience. Like, I don't think sisters realize that. And I had a conversation. My mentor told me that, and I have never forgot about it. He was like, when you're dealing with a woman who has children, she essentially has another husband, because that man is always going to be involved in the intricacies of your household. And so if you're taking on a woman with children, you got to take on that child and the baby daddy. And if she has 3 baby daddies in this situation, that means the man who she's arguing with has 6 other men he's got to deal with in that one relationship. The 3 boys that aren't his, and the other 3 baby daddies. Wow. And so I don't think a lot of times that's really considered. Goes back to that package deal. But Roe versus Wade is going to force us to not be so careless in our sexual activities and our social responsibility. I think it's going to cause a lot of us to start making a lot more logic-based, long-term, forward-seeking decisions, given the fact that now it's not so easily available to terminate. So
I don't think
well,
so.
That would be optimistically thinking, and hopefully, that would be the case. But the other end of the spectrum is that it will make the situation worse. And
I don't think so.
Human nature. I hope it doesn't. I really hope it does turn out the way that we're predicting. But we live in a society right now where people are not taking responsibility for their actions. So until we address that inner flaw, that people are not taking responsibility, I think it's going to be worse before it gets better.
Well, the reason I said that was because if you start taking away those options of it not being so readily available for you to terminate, then you take away that you highlight that loose behavior at that point, because now we're going to have to either travel to another state, or you already know if they're taking those options away, the government is cracking down on making sure that whoever, because you do know now you can file for child support after being so many weeks pregnant. You do know that, don't you? It's about
honestly,
it's about to get real.
Honestly, I don't know a whole lot
hairy.
About that.
That's why I said it's going to get better. That's why I say it's going to get better, because having children outside of wedlock dramatically affects the male way more than it affects the female.
Well, it's already done so before the overturn. The males are the ones that were getting their license revoked, and the males were the ones that were serving time.
So you don't think that now the fact that termination option is now a minimal, now it's not as readily available, you think we're going to still be loose with now more of a government focus on finding baby daddies? Now they've expanded when you can file for child support and all this stuff. You don't think men are going to be out there like, you know what, I'm not going to get myself in this situation because now I could be put on child support and this baby is 19 weeks. Like, that's actually a thing. You don't think boys are gonna be out here like, you know what? I don't know about all this because once you release that seed, you have no legal responsibility whatsoever. Now
I
that she
think
can't
that
go get it
as
terminated, you don't think they're gonna be
yeah,
more
I
careful?
think going back to our previous conversations, I think that's a conversation that needs to be taught or that needs to be had to young males and young females until we address or having that conversation early. No, I don't think it's going to be a change. The way society and social media is structured right now, it's all about casual sex. It's all about, not really having commitment. It's all about feeling entitled. So yeah, I think there's other issues that's on top of the fact of people thinking about the consequences. I mean, look at the news. Multiple stories are in the news now that makes absolutely no sense. Like, people are committing crimes and then feel like they're shocked when when they get caught or when they have to face the responsibility of it. And it's really baffling watching the news. Is like, were they not thinking about what they were doing before they did it? Like, for instance, there is a really a uprising of people going into fast food places and assaulting the people behind or big fights in the lobbies of restaurants right now. People are not thinking that there is consequences for your actions. And so until we address the person and the mindset that yes, you're going to have to pay for whatever the poor decisions that you make, those are the things that we need to address. I really don't think that people are going to be bothered by whatever limitations that legally is going to be put on them, because the human nature right now is not at its finest moments.
Yep, Suzette, that last statement is very true. Yeah, we're not at our finest moments as a community, nor obviously based on the moniker of, I think, this show and the last two shows ago. We really need a reset, need a software update, need a reality check. And I think this before and after conversation of Roe v. Wade definitely should open some eyes. Just as Brother Bowles says, that it should, because there's a lot more at stake than just having sex with a partner and then deciding, whether or not you want to keep the baby or not, particularly based on what state you're in. I do have a concern based on the state of Black America. I have a concern based on what type of news we call news, the things that we follow primarily instead of the news first. Our youth, what they follow, who are primarily the ones that are a bit more promiscuous. Then I also have a concern based on our influencers that change from decade to decade. Primarily when you look at something like the BET Awards, where there's a lot of changes with the music and the type of things that are just easily spoken in verses that would have been spoken. I know music kind of changes and it gets, say, worse and worse. But what I saw through clips, because I don't have BET, but just saw some clips. Yeah, we in a world of trouble as far as just the mindset of Black America, i.e. Black music, i.e. who are our superstars and our model influencers. We're in a world of trouble. But I definitely hear you, Bo, that it should be a wake up call, for in this case Black America, what we're talking about. I just probably don't share the optimism just from where I sit, just on the things that I see. I don't know. We got a long way to go in many facets of society, and I don't know if we're taking this very seriously.
Well, I think, and the reason I said it that way is because I'm looking at men's response recently. Mm-hmm. For example, if you look at and we all found out some of the full details afterwards, but all of us, or most of us, saw the post where there was a speed dating situation that happened, and a woman went live, and she showed that on the patio there were no men there, none. Later on, they did release some videos that there were a few men that showed up, but it was still about 30-70. A lot of men aren't interested in casually being with a lot of the sisters going forward. Look at all the people that are coming on social media and on YouTube complaining that men aren't approaching them anymore. Beautiful women going to the restaurant 6, 8 deep, not a man hollering at them, not one time. Because men are waking up to a lot of this dysfunction that happens in our community between men and women, especially our sisters. So when it comes to having children, you got a lot of brothers that are going overseas, that are dating outside their race. There's a lot that's happening as alternatives. At the same point, if now my percentage of being put on child support goes up, given the fact now that that option isn't as readily available, I'm going to be way more. I'm going to be way more careful. At that point, I'm going to choose better. I'm going to have a much deeper and broader vetting process. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to take a lot more preemptive measures before I get myself caught up in a situation. That's what I'm thinking men should be, but I also think a lot of men are moving that way. Not all of them, though. We're still going to have the knuckleheads. Bell curve. You know what's going to happen. You still going to have some of them that still going to go out there and have these babies, and they're not going to put them on child support because they probably crazy and all that other stuff. But do I think men's behavior is going to slowly shift to more of a leadership, more of a controlling of the relationship narrative? Yes, absolutely.
And you know what? I think where that's going to have to take place is what we just talked about in the household first.
Yeah.
I think that's how we shift that narrative into the way that you're describing it going forward. Because, like I said, just my concern is just that we as a people historically, politics changes laws, and they typically affect minority and black and brown communities, but we are very reactive to that. Yeah. And so a lot is sacrificed in that reaction because it's too late. And I think in order for us to get ahead of that, we're going to have these frank intent conversations that we described before earlier, because the consequence is greater, like you described.
Bro, and I'm gonna shift it because I know we got one more question. We got 30-40 minutes left. The last question, the last phase was talking about effective action steps to improve male and female interactions and relationships within the community that will help build a stronger Black nation. A lot of times we talk about the sins of the fathers, but I'm going to say something tonight. I think we need to start talking about the sins of our mothers. I think the boys need to also hear what attracted them to their father. Need to hear what was good about my daddy that you had a baby by him. You know what for those that have children that the father might not be around for whatever reason. Again, we hear a whole lot about the sins of the father, but I think if we're going to be able to really heal our male-female relationships, we need to open up that Pandora's box and let mama sit us down and tell us how she lied to us about how our daddy really wasn't that bad. She was just hurt. Some of that is true. Some of our fathers, were Rolling Stones. Some of them weren't no good, but there were some men that she mishandled, but she's afraid to admit the fact that she made a mistake. I think that's the truth, that because all these men weren't horrible. I refuse to believe that every Black woman has got that he was this and he was that and he was abusive. Ask them the question: were police involved? What are you talking about abuse? So what I'm saying is that at the end of the day, us repairing the relationships, we're gonna have to start sitting down and talking to our mamas too.
Yeah, I agree.
So one of the first steps is actually
that's a part of taking ownership
and being honest, right? The ownership.
Well, are we going to get our mothers to own up to the fact that they contributed to the reason why daddy wasn't there?
Got to.
Oh, okay. Let me say this much. First of all, when we had our planning meeting, we did not discuss this leg of the conversation, so it's new to me. However, I do agree with this conversation that the mothers need to be a little more transparent, because the choice that she made in order to let this father in her life, that it couldn't have been all bad. The reason, or else they
Well,
wouldn't have had a child together.
well, no. I'm
So,
not talking. I'm not
I
talking about
agree
the
with
baby
that.
mama. I'm not talking about the baby mama. I'm talking about the baby mama's mama.
I understand. I
Okay.
totally understand. What I'm saying is we need to be more transparent with our children and highlight the good with the bad, like tell the whole story. Don't just tell a partial story. So I agree with that, number one. And number two, I was just getting ready to bow out, and you just reel me back in again, because I do have to work tonight. But because we had previously talked about in our planning meeting some effective ways that we could really, work on our male-female relationships in the Black community. And I had approved that message, but now you just pop something totally new in the conversation. But I agree with that. That's decent. Mothers need to be transparent with their children and tell the whole story. Don't just tell half of the story because the father wasn't all bad, or the mother wasn't all bad. Tell the truth. Tell why they connected in the first place.
Do you think that that's something that's going to be a real step, that they actually feel like they actually can do that? I really don't. I don't think the mother.
I think it should be. Yeah, I think it should be a real step. I think it's a very difficult step because a lot of people have an issue with admitting their responsibility or their role in the destruction of a relationship. So I think it's a very courageous conversation that needs to be had, and it's a very selfless conversation that needs to be had, because ultimately you're having this conversation. Hopefully the outcome is to better your child, your offspring, and their understanding of what a relationship is and what it should be and how it evolves and all of the above. But it's going to take some courage to have these conversations with your children. So yeah, I think it needs to be had though.
I'll just add that another route that can be taken, one that my wife and I, we ponder over, and sometimes we fall into these conversations with others that I'll describe, is that I think that an additional action that can be taken, and sometimes it's very easy, especially around this time with family reunion season, is that in order to improve our relationships, male and female relationships within our community, one thing that we can do as individuals in relationships or aspiring to be in relationships is to sit down and talk with our elders, talk with those that are, we had a chance to talk with a couple that was 48 years in marriage. My wife and I, we're 15, and, we think we're riding along pretty well, 15. And so, but it puts it in great perspective when you're talking with somebody who has basically 3 times as much experience in marriage than you, and realize also as a baseliner that they go through some of these same things still that you think you're on an island going through, but they handle it in a more professional manner, seasoned manner. And so I think that's a very easy step in most of our cases because we are such a tribal community. In some form or fashion, somebody that's multiple years in marriage older than you, to be able to just have a conversation, ask a couple of questions, and you never know. We sat and asked a couple of questions, and next thing you know, we're 45 minutes when we were just actually there to manage something for their home, but we end up talking about relationships, and you just never know where that might go and what you might get from it.
Well, I tell you ain't gonna get none out of Big Mama. She ain't gonna tell you what really happened. She ain't gonna tell you. She gonna tell you to go to your daddy's side of the family and find out from them.
Oh my God!
It's got to be both of them in the room. Now, if you don't have that, I'm sorry, I don't have anything for you.
Right,
but we had an opportunity to sit down with the man and woman, so the man and I, we could understand each other and obviously cross the table elsewise, but also am able to hear a different perspective from an older woman that might be trying to say the same thing that Amanda might have been saying the whole while. So it's definitely a unique experience, I'll say.
Well, that goes hand in hand with Latessa's comment. She says the society we live in, that we don't value relationships. Everything is popcorn and microwave. So if it
Right.
gives you immediate satisfaction, that's what we see instead of long term. So you're absolutely right. I think that to add on to what you were saying, we haven't been taught the value of long term relationships and conflict resolution.
Yeah.
I don't think we know how to resolve conflict very well, if at all. I think a lot of times we enjoy, we misappropriate having stressful moments in relationships. We have out of alignment expectations. When it comes to relationships, and I think a lot of that is because we want a lot of it right now. But again, I think us having a walking example, but also being taught the value of relationships is a lost art in our community. Because a lot of our sisters look at their grandmothers and their great grandmothers as stupid. Ain't no way in the world I would have stuck around with a man that long, and I wouldn't have done all of that. And I don't want to be around them, all them cheering, all that. They don't really value traditionalism as they claim. That's just what I believe. I believe it sounds good. You want a man like granddaddy. You want to be like your grandmother, but two totally different people. Two totally different outlooks of what marriage was to them. It was a means of survival. It was a means of having that partnership, having someone with them to go along. The ups and downs of life. I don't think that's what we're looking for now. But I
I
think
tell you what,
that.
if I'm mentoring a young man and sorry about that, and he said that the person he's interested in says that I think what Big Mama had to say was stupid, run. I'm gonna tell you right now, you need to run if a woman is saying that. For
I
sure.
agree.
You got some out there, but if you can't value what the last generation has done to get 50 plus years in, because it doesn't jive with what you're doing now. That's a trend.
Yeah, it's my I heard my grandmother say something about my grandfather when it came to attraction, and it showed the maturity and it showed her ability it shows that she knew the value of having a man in her life that was skillful, and that kind of had evidence that he could take care of business. She said my grandfather wasn't the most attractive man. She said, but he was a noble man. He was a good man. He was trustworthy. He was hardworking. And it was the characteristics that she saw in him that were long term. You know what I'm saying? They had 10, 11 kids together. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, have we totally lost the ability on how to vet lifelong partners? Are we really going into long-term relationships blind, thinking we can, if we can mimic what we weren't trained
statement
to
is
be?
the opposite. We're not going into long distance relationships blind. That's all we're focusing on is what we see, the visual of it all, and not really focusing on the intangible things of a relationship. So no, we're not going into it blind. That's all that usually, or I wouldn't say usually, but that's all that mostly some of the modern relationships are based on: the looks, the likes, the hearts. You know what I'm saying? The physical.
But that's I think that's from a female's perspective, because men don't look for social validation from having a woman. I think
maybe not social validation or social stance, but the visual appearance of it all is what I'm speaking to. Sometimes some relationships are only based off of what you look like, being a trophy, being something that's going to look good on my arm, versus the intangible characteristics and qualities that you may possess. So,
to take, I get what you're saying, and I agree. There are relationships, where it's all about the optics. But I'm not talking about those kind of relationships. I'm talking about mature people who are in relationships because they're approaching them with good faith. They're looking for something long term, looking for a quality individual. I'm not talking for those that are trying to get the Instagram likes and the social credit. There's a whole bunch of women doing that, OnlyFans and all. We got enough of them. I'm talking about the ones that y'all say we don't talk about enough. The real black women that got jobs and
I definitely want to talk about the high value women. Yeah, I definitely want to talk about that.
There ain't no such thing. There ain't no such thing. But go ahead.
Here we go.
Yeah, he's on
I think that those type of women or those caliber of women are very hopeful that they can, find a man who possesses all the qualities that she's looking for. So I think to some degree, yeah, you can say in that sense of it all, we are going into it blind because we might be our expectations might be a little bit unrealistic. And God knows I hate to quote this, but Dr. Samuel, he pointed out in some of his episodes that the expectations was a little, delusional, and he might have been right by a few things.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Once again, the beautiful is breaking the girl code, and she's standing on logic and truth.
Oh my God, I know it. I want to choke
appreciate
myself.
that. I appreciate that, but it's true. It is absolutely true. Yeah, I mean, I think that's just a major.
With that being said, that gentlemen and my queens on here, I don't want to do any more damage to the girl code. So I am going to bow out of the rest of this conversation. However, we discussed all of us have discussed the topics on here, so I feel very confident in the different topics that you're going to discuss to end the show tonight. With that being said, I do want our viewers to know that the effective action steps that we discuss are something that you can implement today, based on some recommendations from the Black and the Bold. And we hope that your relationship between male and female in our Black community improves greatly.
Appreciate you, sir.
With that being said, gentlemen, I'm signing off.
All right. Well, have a good one. Appreciate you stepping in.
Take care.
Some more time
All right,
tonight.
guys. I miss y'all. Y'all have a good one.
Same here. Take care.
Yeah, man. I think it's absolutely true that we need to really delve into that a lot more when it comes to just that individual responsibility. I don't think that's happening enough. I think a lot of the brothers we get the brunt of the vitriol by default. And I think a lot of times when we get a chance to highlight some of the shortcomings from our sisters, it really doesn't get the wind, the volume that it needs to have in order for it to make the statement that we're making. I think it forces us to really move in silence. I think it forces us to walk away from relationships with no explanation. I think it causes us to go ghost from our children. I think there's a lot of reasons why. I'm not validating the reasons, the actions, but I think a lot of that happens because a lot of brothers feel like they really just cannot have a candid conversation with the sisters. It comes out, with having that. I personally believe that there are a lot of sisters that that walk around with a certain level of stoicism in some way. It's like, you're so consumed with yourself. I mean, I can't tell you how many times that I may have said, like, maybe in like a retail store, excuse me, just, I'm trying to get by, and they turn it around, or I've asked for directions a couple of times. Oh, I got a man. I'm trying to figure out, like, I mean, do women really? Because I hear when we have conversations, I get responses, but that's not what we experience in real life.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? That's really not what we experience. And I'm not capping, I'm not putting on. I'm just saying, like, this is a real reality. Like, it's serious. Like, you ask for directions or something, and I got a man. I'm like, what do you mean? Like, I didn't even say nothing about, you know what I'm saying? Like, this is not a pickup line. You know what I mean? Like, and it just makes me curious to know, every many times you open the door for random women, they don't even say thank you. It's like certain things you do, and it's like they expect you to do it. And so I just feel like there's a real conversation that needs to be had about how we value one another at the end of the day. You know what I mean? I think that's important, that we learn to value one another again and understand a man needs to understand the value of having a good woman in his life that goes beyond her sexual capabilities. It goes beyond that. What else is valuable to you that she brings to the table? I think that's the way the question should be asked moving forward. It's not what you bring to the table, but what is it that you bring that could be valuable to us in our relationship to the table?
Yeah. It
And I
always
think,
comes down to what makes you special.
well, yeah,
You know?
exactly. Because I think men have to answer that question, and I
Yeah.
think when we answer that question, we also have to, we have to, prove it by being
Right.
the provider or being the chivalrous guy or being the understanding guy or whatever. Now, we have to actually show forth the things that they're requesting. Now, I'm not saying we always stick to it. There are reasons why, of course, but I don't feel like a lot of times that a lot of our sisters feel obligated to make those same adjustments. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's just what I feel about it, and I don't feel like we're going to move forward until we really can have that
Yeah.
true.
It's got to be an equal accountability and equal priority. Like you said, value.
Yeah,
That's got to be shown across the board.
yeah, it's got to be. And I don't know how. Again, I think it's something that we're going to have to start from our children, but
Yep.
As far as a lot of our grown men, a lot of our men 40 and above, it might be a little difficult to change. We've got we've got too much experience. We've had too many circumstances, that have kind of validated our position at this point. You know what I mean? Because it's going to be
You
hard.
got to have total buy-in. I mean, it's possible to quote unquote change or redirect, recalibrate, but you really have to buy in the older you get to the process, because this is difficult. I mean, you have habits you've already set in, the expectations, the way you were raised, and that's already concrete, solidified. I mean, you really have to buy into a process to actually start thinking differently at an
Yeah.
older stage.
Yeah. And I don't know. Again, I think that's something that, okay, well, let's put it like this. We've got a few minutes to kind of flesh that out.
All right.
How do we get our young men to buy in? Think about a lot of these young, we were talking about this a couple of weeks ago. We got together. We were just saying about how the dating market is different. You and I were dating as teenagers. We had to go to the house. We had to knock on the
Right.
door. We couldn't just blow the horn. And now that, well, they went through a phase where it was Netflix and chill and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
And then now it's morphed to now, well, let's link up before you go on a date, before you, get to know the family. Like, it's like sex is so easy to get now that it kind of clouds and convolutes our ability to really know the person that we're with. And I think because that physical part
Mm-hmm.
is so readily available, it allows us to really scurry past a lot of the important stuff. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, I understand what you mean. Right.
So
So then it goes back to, as beautiful when she got off, she quoted the great late Kevin Samuels. And again, one of the things that, put into summary, not to quote directly, but women, they control access to sex. Right.
yeah,
So part of that starts with them, as far as if you're trying to get a young man to buy into something, then it always is controlled by how easily accessible what he wants is.
right.
I mean, we're all children to a degree. And if
Yeah.
I can keep getting it without any buy-in to a certain process, like you said, get out of the car before you come see me to come meet my folks and etc., then yeah, it's nothing going to change.
So let me do this. Let me do something. I want to do something with this conversation because I don't want it to get to the point where it sounds like we're indirectly, bashing our sisters. I don't want to do that. I want to ask you a question. Because it's readily available, should we still blame them or should we take accountability on how we react, although it is available? Like, I mean, I know they control the access to sex,
Mhm.
and there is some accountability on that end. Let's just say we're having a conversation, void making any any reference to the female because it's readily available. Does that show a lack of male self-control? Does it show our lack of our inability to have a drive beyond something sexual with a woman? Or
No,
I mean,
I
let's
think
get there.
No, I mean, I think it's still, it goes back to, so if you void the conversation of the woman aspect of it, then
Yeah.
I still then, stand on the upbringing piece, because you only know what you know. And so if that's how you know how to approach a woman, or like I said, without the chivalry, without the gentleman qualities, then that's what's going to happen regardless.
Okay. Well, let's ask the question that Jarkay asked. She said, "Why is it readily available?" I don't think that's a question that a man can answer.
I don't know. I
I don't.
mean, so like even to further some of what you were asking before, though, like for instance, I just thought of it after you answered that question there, but it was like we were at an event this weekend, and I've been like in this situation like numerous times at this stage of where I am, as an adult, like us basically.
Yeah.
And you probably can validate this as well, but at track meets, at family gatherings, I'm hearing like, songs that are very loose and vulgar. And of course, that's nothing new in some sort of way along the ages of music. However, here's where I got a problem with it, is that there are kids around, children around, and there are elders around. And I don't see the same consideration that we would have had. I mean, there's no way. That's like us playing, you kind of got some eyes, you played Luke at a family reunion. I mean, first of all, how dare you, but the music that's out there now, and the remixes and the things that they're saying, and the bees, women saying, what is it? The city girl bees, I mean, it's just all out there, WAPs. It's out there, and this is being played in front of our tribe, our children, all the way up to our elders, and nobody's saying anything. That's kind of where I'm linking this back to. In some circles, do we even know any better?
I would say ultimately we do, but I would say overwhelmingly we have chosen not to, because of our personal experiences that we've had with bad apples. We know, we know how to treat women, but because when we found out that all girls aren't sugar and spice and everything nice, again, it poisons our cup when it comes to how we deal with women, how we would respect them, or how we move around them, etc. I think that has a lot to do with it. Ultimately, I think it needs to go even further. When you start asking about why is it readily available, I think it goes back to what you were saying about having those elders having enough care. Because let's be honest, the baby boomers, they let us down. They were the ones that ushered in this new way of living, this woman's liberation, this blended family, this independence that can be stretched across the board. They were responsible for that,
right?
Because they got to the point where they saw that there was another side of the fence, where there was some liberation, where they could exit the kitchen and exit the maternity room for having a career and going to get a degree and all that stuff. And I think by them exploring possibilities, they never came back to teach their children the dangers of that possibility, or
right.
What I'm saying, kind of like some the fruit of what it can cause or what it could render in your households. And I think because of that, they have this backwards opinion of who men are, because they've done so much to survive without one. You know what I mean? And I think that has a lot to do with it. Now, the fact that it's more readily available, because I think the pathology of our women has changed. I think they walk in more of a liberation. They walk more of a strength that they didn't have generations before. Or
that might be a tangent to an entire show itself. How much liberation is too much?
Yeah, we might need to bring that up. Because it has caused so much disruption in the model of the fabric of this country. Like it, of course,
Right.
it is patriarchy, but it is that way because that's how it's worked best. History has proven that time and time again. And anytime we've focused on any other type of leadership, any other model of family, it has always crumbled and caused more problems. And so, I think again that liberation or that opportunity of liberation is like a boomerang that you've thrown out that hasn't returned yet. Like you haven't seen
Yeah.
any real return on that
Yeah.
investment. You know what I'm saying? It just keeps that the blade on that shovel never dulls. Like we keep digging and keep digging and keep digging, looking for liberation that is completely out of balance with the universe. So it's a lot. I mean, it's a lot that we have to deal with when it comes to rebuilding that male female relationship. But I agree with you. I think it starts with us focusing on each woman and each man teaching the children that they're responsible for how to be real men and real women in this day and time. But again, even me saying men and women is a term that can be diced up. You know what I mean?
I'll try to keep it simple.
Yeah.
But yeah, I know what you mean.
You know what I mean? So I don't know. I think it's a lot. We got a lot of work to do because a lot. I saw a lady on the podcast earlier. She was talking about she felt like a lot of our sisters are making a false claim that that our black men are going to other races because we're weak. And she came on and she was like sisters, we tripping. Like our men are leaving because of our behavior, because of how we treat them and because how we put them, how we devalue them so much. It was refreshing to hear that because first of all, it came from a sister who basically took ownership, of some of her past dealings with some of the men in her life. But at the same time, it also allowed me to see that a lot of our sisters actually do see the damage that other women are causing, when it comes to the reputation of our sisters. And I don't like it. And I don't like for our sisters to be, I thought it was a slap in the face when they got Cardi B to go speak to the president. Like, what?
Right.
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 All these
Over everybody.
Yeah, like all these educated black women we have that are in politics all over this country, you go get Cardi B. You know what I mean? Like, and I hate the fact that our sisters are portrayed in that way. Like always the angry black sister, always the promiscuous wild black woman. It's always that trope that they want to put on the woman, on our sisters. But in fact, our sisters are way more than that. But I think because their silence makes them complicit in a lot of these situations,
True.
I think that damages a lot of their arguments when they come and try to defend certain behaviors. You know what I'm saying? It's like, where were you when we had this situation, with the woman down the street the other day where it was absolutely obvious she was wrong, but nobody said anything. Or they kind of spoke to it and said, yeah, it's wrong. And they kind of went on to something else. You know what I mean?
Well, it's the same thing like with media. And as I touched on before, because it hit me in a certain way when I saw clips of, BET Awards. It's the same way, silence is consent. And so it digresses each year. And so as long as no one, again, female, talking about like you said, is that as long as no female group or female constituents of the channel really make a stand against it, I mean, it's just going to do a complete backslide with regards to where, in the case of, say, Cardi B, Megan Thee Stallion, etc., how women are portrayed in the music industry and media itself.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a lot, that I would definitely love to see happen with our sisters. And I know a lot of our sisters have a lot to say, when it comes to, when men have the conversation about women. But I want us to really, share this, across all of the platforms that that's not our desire, to speak negatively and to blow up, the reputation of our sisters. We just really want to highlight, a lot of the things, fairly. We want to when men are wrong, we want to highlight that. When women are wrong, we want to highlight that as well. We want to have a balanced approach, a balanced conversation, because at the end of the day, we're both at fault. We both harbor some kind of responsibility in our relationship. So it's definitely something that I think we need to work on. I know I have definitely been doing that with my children, teaching them to be more communicative, teaching them to be more open, teaching them to learn how to express themselves, in a better way. You know what I'm saying? Like really having these conversations so that they can have a better social IQ. I think our black children really suffer from a low social IQ, when it comes to us developing really good relationships. We know how to make friends, but like you and I have a relationship that goes beyond friendship. Like,
Right.
we've been together for so long, we know each other to the point where there's anything that we needed, there won't be any questions. You know what I'm saying? Because our relationship went beyond just friendship.
Right.
We're like family now. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
But
Exactly.
I think that's an art we've lost in many cases.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think it's something that
So
definitely can be worked on.
I think this might be another one that kind of falls in our lap here. Nalita Menifee asks, and this could be its own topic of a conversation as we move forward with the stream here, or the streams in the future, is who or what is an example of a real men, or real women and real men, excuse
Yeah,
me.
that's
That in
it.
itself could be reframed in just
Yeah,
its own title,
yeah.
because there's a lot underneath that.
And I tell you what, Nalita, I would definitely humbly request that that's something that we may even bring up next week. I'm requesting that if you can, you don't have to get on camera, but I want you to come on the show and kind of help us talk through that. I mean, that's an excellent question to ask,
It is.
especially at this juncture. I think that question right there is what's going to set us, on a path to repairing our relationships, really establishing what is the model man, what is a model woman. I think that's an excellent question. I think that, and I would really hope that you could come on and at least entertain us for 15, 30 minutes to be able to express yourself and help us have this conversation. Excellent question. Excellent question.
And stressing as well, just like Brother Bowl said, stressing as well that it could be just audible. I mean, it's nothing that has to be video tied to it. The way that, and this is an invitation, obviously, to all at any point that you want to reach out to us and want to be a short-term guest, and just kind of, like I said, 15 minutes, share your thoughts and on the subject at hand. But definitely with something like that, we need more of the conversation to be in the room, because we get the engagement with those that are in the chat box, but there are many people that I can see that are online, but basically sideline audience. You know what I'm saying? It's not necessarily engaged audience, but you might have something to say. So those that have something to say, like our star fans, if you will, Jar K, again, what is it? Chopping and chanting. All right, so we need to get up these individuals that are our tribe, get you at least heard on the show, because you all have some very enlightening thoughts that add flavor to what we're already saying. But something like that, Menifee, man, that's a rabbit hole in itself, but a good one to go down.
It is. It definitely is. And I think, again, it's definitely something we need, a conversation we need to have, so that we can make sure that we want to provide the information so we can include our children in the conversation. Maybe it's something you may want to go back and play for them, a question that may have been brought up, or a scenario that you think would be easy, that definitely would be able to, kind of help you open up a conversation. We want you to use this information for that as well. So we definitely want you on. And yes, Jarkay, we know your mouth is rated R. Yes, some church folk on here. But we just want you to speak as if children are going to be watching. So that's all we ask.
That's a disclaimer that you have to put out with Jarkay. I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
Jarkay know how to do it. I worked with Jarkay years back. She knows how to handle it. She's very professional. She knows.
And just so that you all know how this probably will work best, is that you see perhaps you see, I can get it. Yeah. They can get it too. If you see the email address there, or you're hearing this at theblackandthebold@gmail.com, theblackandthebold@gmail.com, the way that it probably has to work on this platform with Restream, I can't get it together here, is that I would need to invite you via a link that I could send to your email address. If you are all interested just having your email address on file, I think probably, Brother Bold, it's probably just best that we have a database of email addresses.
Yeah.
I could just mass blast the invitation for that night's show to everyone. And that way, if you don't want to get on, don't click on the link. If you do want to get on, you can link in, turn your camera off, keep your camera on or whatever. And nothing is instant. I have to let you into the room so that you can be seen, or when you're ready. But it's nothing to really put anybody on blast. It's just if you want to spend just the amount of time that you're engaging with us right now on the show to offer your opinion, that's what we're trying to do.
And we definitely want to move it towards just members, because as you all have seen, we've had a few people to come on with those bots and all that kind of stuff, trying to get our page flagged. So we're definitely gonna move to members only when it comes to coming on and having a conversation. Just because of just to keep that kind of unnecessary foolishness minimized, if not completely alleviated. So but
so send us your email address. Send us your
Definitely
email
do that.
address. We'll get you logged in, and that way we can hear you all's opinion.
Absolutely. And hopefully in the near future, we'll be able to link up with our Black and the Bold on Instagram. You see it right behind me. I want to do something there. But I want you all's ideas. I want you all to let us know what it is you'd like for us to do, what it is you'd like for us to have. We're definitely working on an all-girl show, all-female show. Sister Beautiful is working on that. I've also set up our Lions Den, and we're just looking to we're thinking about having a politics show. We just talk politics for maybe about an hour, certain days out of the week, and then we'll have a show about money. That we're going to have our money show. So we're really trying to broaden everything out, make things work. So stay tuned, but we need your subscription. We need your it's free for right now. We just need your your emails and everything. And if you want to give, you can give. You can do that. You can link up with us on Instagram and Facebook and YouTube as we move forward. Brother, you got anything else as we get ready to get up out of here?
I do have one. I lost my my party horn, but I do have one more shout out to make. This is for Miss Cynthia Chambliss. I hope I got that right. No French enunciation there, hopefully. But she just shared tonight's stream on Facebook as well. So again, we love it when y'all share, because again, it tells your fan base what's going over in our world and where they can become part of our tribe. Cynthia, we appreciate it. I don't know, Bo, do you know Cynthia?
I don't, not by name. I probably have to look at the look at her profile picture. We know so many people by face.
Well, I'm just saying that Cynthia, definitely link up with us and like, subscribe to our show here. I think you're on Facebook, so go ahead and definitely like and follow the Black and the Bold on Facebook so that you can get notified instantly when we plan a show and plan to go live. And then you'll get that same notification once we go live, so you can tune in at the beginning of the show. Yeah. So Jarkay also says that she loves the money show idea as well. So we'll get into some of this other stuff as well. Showcase the excellence in the Black community through these conversations that we'll have.
Yeah, we're definitely gonna do that, man. We're definitely gonna do that. We appreciate all of y'all's support. Thank you all so much for a great show tonight. Another one in the books, my brother. We are steady climbing, and we are on our way. Before you know it, we'll be at show 100. We got to keep grinding, keep getting it in. Listen, everybody, we're going to see you all next Tuesday night right here, 8:30 sharp Eastern Standard Time for another great topic. And it just might be what is it? What'd you say? How much is too much liberation? Or it could be who and what is the example of a real man?
I don't know. As a matter of fact, we might have to do that and just say hotel for sure. Yes, sir. You see me, Nalita. Appreciate it. We might have to get a quick little poll here before we cut out. Cedric, Jarkay, Nalita, I think who was the other one? What's the other Chambliss? If y'all are still on, what do y'all think? Number, I guess one for the is too much is what? Is there too much liberation?
How much is too much liberation?
How much liberation is too much? Or two, the second choice would be what is the example of a real man or a real woman? what do y'all think? This short, quick poll. We might just obviously decide that over the weekend, but yeah, just want to know what everybody's thinking.
Yeah,
So nonetheless, we'll make that decision if we don't see any votes here as we close out. Though 1 for is how much liberation is too much, and then 2 is what examples do we have of a real man, real woman? What does that mean? All right, Jarkay put in her vote for the one about how much liberation is too much liberation. Armand, bro, what's going on? His vote is for the what is a real man versus a real woman.
Shout out to the Beard Always Win podcast. Appreciate you, Mon. Appreciate you. Mon already said he ready to jump on the man show when we get ready. So, Mon, right. I'm reaching out to you, brother. We looking to get started. If you free, man, hit me up in text, call me, whatever. Let me know. I would definitely want you to be on, bro. Both 2 separate shows. Tan says, okay.
Yeah, man. Always staying busy, Armand. Yeah, so we might have to just flip a coin over the weekend, bro. I mean, like Tan said, both of them pretty much great show ideas. So Armand said, let me know when. But yeah, guys, we'll close out with that, bro, and we'll just flip a coin because I think those are both great ideas. We got 2 in the bag right there.
Yeah, we'll definitely do that, bro. Right. Well, listen, appreciate y'all. Thank you all so much for all you've done for us. Your support really means a lot, and we're definitely going to get ready to really blow this show up and, stretch our wings a little bit, see where we can fly. Well, listen, we got to get up out of here. Tonight I want to talk about something I was talking to my son a couple of days about manhood and being able to take responsibility. And we talk about something that many of us know well, excuses. Excuses by definition just simply means an attempt to lessen the blame attaching to something or someone, or is when someone seeks to defend or justify their actions. The other definition, it says to release someone from a duty or requirement. I was sharing with my son the other day that some of the responsibilities of men doesn't allow you to have an excuse. Sometimes you just have to find a way to make things work. Sometimes you have to do the things you don't want to do because excuses make room for all kinds of laziness and procrastination. But there's one poem that I learned when it came to excuses that I want to share with you all. Excuses are monuments of nothingness. They build bridges to nowhere. Those of us who use these tools of incompetence seldom become anything but nothing at all. I want us to realize that a lot of times we're going to have to learn how to be stronger than our excuses. Trust me, everybody on this show has had an opportunity to use an excuse, and the excuse was valid. But do you really want to live your life at the mercy of your excuses? I challenge you, and even though you might not feel like it, even though you might not be qualified enough, even though you feel like you're a fish out of water, don't be a slave to your excuses. Don't try to shirk responsibility nowhere else, but really hold fast that you are the captain of your own ship. Remove all of the excuses. Remove all of the doubt and the desire to want to throw it off on somebody else. But pick up that labor for yourself and realize that the excuses that you would have given yourself would have kept you from greatness. What excuse is keeping you from being great this year? I love y'all. I thank y'all so much for being here. Remember, remove the excuses and see your destiny and your victory more clear because it's on the way. No more excuses. Let's get it done. We'll see y'all next week. Till then, peace, love, and light. We out.